we are inching closer to a general election rematch between Donald Trump and Joe Biden. Now, in terms of fundraising, the Democrats currently have a financial advantage over the Republicans. Joe Biden started the year with $46 million on hand compared to Trump's $33 million. Here's some news, though. Perhaps that imbalance will not last for long. Check out this scoop from the New York Times tonight. You see the headline there. Donald Trump seeking cash infusion meets with Elon Musk. New York Times reporting that Donald Trump met with Elon Musk and also a few other wealthy Republican donors seeking a cash infusion to support his campaign. That was within the last few days. That was reportedly over the weekend. According to the Times, Trump is now hoping to have a one-on-one meeting just with Elon Musk, who reportedly has been saying that he believes it is, quote, essential to defeat Joe Biden in November, quoting the New York Times there. Elon Musk, of course, is one of the two richest people on Earth. He could single-handedly erase any financial advantage Democrats might have heading into the general election in November if he decided to and if he wanted to play it that way. What would that mean for what happens to the world and the republic?
And we're sure that money is not to pay Donald Trump's legal bills.
Guess what? It can. And when we all sit here and go, oh, my gosh, Donald Trump owes $83 million on E. Jean Carroll. He owes $400 million here. And we say he doesn't have that money. Guess what? Whether it's Elon Musk or all sorts of other supremely wealthy forces out there, they would be happy to pay the bills for someone who could be the next president.
Yeah,
Elon Musk
owns the president of the United States.
He hates the FTC. And how much would he like it if he then owned the president?
Trump. Yes, I mean, this is, let's go back to Citizens United and Mitch McConnell and John Roberts, who have crafted the universe in which we operate, who have brought us to a position where the richest billionaire out of it's like an 1890s Gilded Age cartoon in a newspaper, and the corrupt president desperately in need of cash have a meeting, and what is either the explicit or implied quid pro quo in that interaction? Musk has tens of millions and hundreds of millions of dollars of government contracts with the Pentagon through SpaceX. He has unbelievable amounts of interest in regulatory affairs. He's currently suing to get rid of the National Labor Relations Act of the New Deal to destroy unions across the board and render them unconstitutional. That is a current lawsuit he has filed onto. Think about the sheer ROI, return on investment, of an investment, and it is so shocks the conscience that this would even be possible. And it's only possible, again, because of Mitch McConnell, because of the Roberts Court and the MAGA Court, that you could even be in a position where you have such an obviously corrupt setup.
Chris, Tesla is the only car manufacturer that is allowed to sell directly to consumer, because one of the biggest, strongest lobbies in this country is car dealership owners, right? So the fact that he could back Donald Trump, the fact that he could pay his bills and then be able to push Donald Trump around, giddy up. That's an easy one for him.
And by the way, he controls Starlink, which is critical to the defense of Ukraine and to the U.S. defense establishment. This guy could be the J.P. Morgan of the current era. He would literally own a desperate, fearful man. I sat and watched 7 minutes of Donald Trump speaking from what looked like his basement the other day. Donald Trump is afraid. He's afraid of going to prison. He's afraid of losing everything that he built in New York, well, that his dad built, and that he borrowed money from the Russians or whatever after he failed at business. But he could be saved right now. All he needs is a billionaire like Elon Musk who wants to own him.
And to be president.
And then he gets to be president, and he gets to dismiss all his cases. Boom. He's basically, that is his MBS.
He's running for his life.
He's running for his life.
It also, does assume that Trump is inevitably going to win once he has Elon's money behind him. And though I believe that money in politics is a colossal problem.
Oh, yeah, no.
There is, he is
but you'd rather be even than outgunned.
He is, yes, but he is reliant on government contracts.
Yeah.
And, if Joe Biden's reelected and Elon Musk has bankrolled Donald Trump,
that's a great
point.
Tesla wasn't invited to the last EV summit at the White House. and they won't be invited in 2025.
What you're supposed to do with that money is to fund ground campaigns, mail campaigns, etc. They're already saying they're not going to do mail. Most of that money, let's be clear, is going to go to cure Donald Trump's personal financial issues, not to the ground campaign.
Can I just say one more thing about this, because I actually find it very usefully clarifying, is that so much of the way that Donald Trump talks, so much of the way that our politics talk about, are these sort of cultural signifiers, these points of intense sort of ideological, rhetorical, demographic conflict in the country, the invaders coming over the border, the sort of Marxists that run the Democratic Party, they're trying to destroy the future. When in power, what Republican governments do is do policy that helps people like Elon Musk. They cut corporate taxes. It's the only domestic policy bill that they passed the last time around when they didn't build the wall. They had all three.
They did make it easier for people adjudicated to be mentally ill to buy firearms.
They also did that. But to me, it's just there's this whole you're sort of watching Elon Musk self-radicalize and online every day. His brain gets mushier and mushier and mushier. And there's part of this radicalization is social media and his own ego. But again, when you look at what governments do, local governments, state governments, federal governments, when they are Republican and conservative governments with power, they deregulate, they go after unions, they cut taxes for rich people. And so there's something very clarifying about Elon Musk and Donald Trump together in the same room, because it cuts through a lot of the faux populism and culture war nonsense that masks fundamentally the material interests that are being pursued by this man.
That is also why people often falsely say Republicans are good for the economy, because in terms of deregulation, in terms of big business, that set will say a Republican is a safer bet for me.
For us, yes.
For us. And that's where that narrative comes from. You've even heard people say, well, if it's good for my boss, maybe it'll trickle down to me. It won't. But that's where the mindset comes from.
And by the way, what makes it perfect, chef's kiss perfect, is that the Supreme Court sits atop it all, trying to ensure the longevity of Republican government, because that is how they get their wonderful vacays. And they're going to do whatever they can to make sure that Donald Trump comes in so that those two grifters on the court, if I might say, can retire and have 30-year-old versions of themselves to replicate the grift.
I should just say, though, that in terms of the whole logic around there being legal policing of this, you shouldn't, ideally, in a democracy, have a multi-billionaire be able to come in and say, here are multiple billions of dollars to cover all your legal fees, to cover all your campaigning fees, and to set you up in a way that you can't lose. We technically shouldn't have that. But how do we police it? We police it by shame, right? Because it's speech. Money is speech, and therefore it's transparency. And so if all we can do is force disclosure of the funding, that will take care of itself, because people will be repulsed by this.
But Rachel, shamelessness is Donald Trump's superpower. Yes. Remember, back when we were saying this guy doesn't pay his taxes, and he said, you're right, I don't, because I'm smart. But a knock to Democrats, when Joe Biden was running, he said, I'm going to close so many loopholes so it won't just be shameful for Republicans to violate emoluments and so on and so forth. And they haven't. And if we end up with a Donald Trump again, it's no holds barred. MBS, come on over for a barbecue.
I'm just going to say that there is this idea when you study countries that used to be democracies that slid out of democracy and became authoritarian instead. One of the things that everybody who studies that in every country tells you is that the institutions cannot defend themselves.
That's right.
And we have set up our institutions so that their defense against authoritarian rule and anti-democratic tactics is shame.
Right.
And is transparency, and is people knowing the information and being able to react accordingly. If that is all we've got, then our institutions will not defend our democracy. If we let things play out along these lines, our democracy will fall, and we will become a country that doesn't have elections anymore. And so we're in a situation right now where we can't count on the existing structures to just do this on autopilot. There's only one way out of this. You have to pick one. You have to pick Donald Trump, or you have to pick Joe Biden.
Yes.
There isn't a magic other answer. There's no institution, there's no court, there's no criminal prosecution.
There's also
there is no
right
institution.
now, because people don't hear it.
There's no magic in the media. There's people having to figure out which one of those candidates they want and what it means for the future of this country. and then going out and doing the work to make sure that that candidate wins. It means not only voting, it means literally doing what you can to make one of those two candidates win. And if you're not working for one of them, you are by default working for the other.
And by the way, you know what?
It's all we've got.
What the Biden campaign folks said, they're sending out two words tonight: cementing reality. And what you just said is what they're saying. They're saying what tonight was about was cementing the reality that it's Biden or Trump. And what Joe Biden was able to do is to clear 80% in almost all of these races to cement that reality. They're hoping that emotionally they can cement that reality for their voters, because their voters are the ones who are most fantasy prone when it comes, more so than Republicans, but Republicans are more disconnected from each other. They are actually having a fight that's bigger than the fight inside the Democratic Party. You just have some Democrats who would love for for Joe Biden to change his Middle East policy.
Democrats hoping that Republicans are going to take care of this problem, this Donald Trump problem, on their own side.
Not going to happen.
It's not happening.
If it makes you feel any better, I have already put evac on alert. He's ready to go if it comes to that. Well, General, I can assure you.
Hey, General, let me into the war room to see you, so I had to hack my way onto this frequency.
This better be critical, Wheelie.
Sir, come on, what is it not, please? Okay, couple of things. I'm running low on the I was thinking about taking a couple of months sick leave, maybe starting today. And, oh yeah. I intercepted a transmission from Megatron.
Then send it through.
Yes, sir, right away, sir. And so I was so damn weird, going on the other stuff.
This is your last warning, insects. Relinquish what remains of the Allspark.
So who's the insect? You? What? Who's the insect?
Protect you. They were defeated on our world, and we will defeat them here.
This was just a diversion. Security, please bring him up. Rabbit, she's already inside. Deeds! Give me an update on that reserve. What's readiness? What was his name? What was it?
Evac, sir.
Right, evac.
She's right in front.
We are facing a heavy, sustained attack. They appear to be after the Allspark aircraft. General! General! Need to evac immediately. Evac. Hold on. National security advisory. Stay down. Pushing it out. Failed the mission. Celebration. The amateurs on suicide mission.